As far as football clubs are concerned, key signings have been the difference between success and failure. These memorable transfers have either taken clubs out of mediocrity and into greatness, or helped to solidify a club's already amazing legacy. That being said, these are the 10 greatest transfers in football history. And which better to start with than one of the most transformative transfers of them all? Now, Diego Maradona is one of the greatest players of all time. He's a World Cup hero, and his skills were like none other at the time. As you would expect, it is only right for a player of such high caliber to play for the world's biggest clubs. He sure did when he signed for Barcelona towards the closing stages of his career. However, his stay there was riddled with more controversy than the club or player would have cared for. And this was the opportunity for Napoli to add a footballing great to their roster. At this time, Napoli wasn't the richest club in the world, but they didn't mind shelling out £6.9 million for the mercurial midfielder. This was a record fee at the time, and it was definitely money well spent. Maradona was the driving force behind Napoli's most memorable era in the Italian Serie A, as he helped them win their very first league title, as well as the Coppa Italia in 1987. He didn't stop there though, as he helped them win the Coppa Italia again in 1990, thereby solidifying himself as a legend in the city of Naples. As for this next player, his efforts in taking his club from ordinary to great cannot be overlooked. I'm talking about Sergio Aguero, who departed Atletico Madrid for Manchester City in the 2011 to 2012 season to help the club win their very first English Premier League title by the slimmest of margins. And what a moment it was for the club, as his last-minute winner on the last day of the season is a day that no Manchester City fan can forget. From there, Aguero went on to win many more times with City, including 4 Premier League titles, 1 FA Cup, and 5 League Cups. And even though the club has signed many quality players over the past decade, Sergio Aguero remains the best they've ever had. As we speak, Aguero remains Manchester City's all-time leading scorer, and it'll be hard for even Erling Haaland to replicate the Argentine's goal-scoring prowess. Speaking of lethal finishers in the EPL, not too many strikers can compare with this next player. If you ask any Arsenal fan about the greatest transfer the club has ever finalized, I bet that Thierry Henry will be at the top of their list. He's one of the most entertaining strikers in Premier League history, and is certainly Arsenal's greatest player. Without a doubt, signing Henry for £11 million is the best footballing decision Arsene Wenger ever made, as the French striker led the Gunners to Premier League and FA Cup glory in 2002. In his first season, he squeezed in a commendable 26 goals across all competitions, after which he led the line in Arsenal's unbeaten title-winning season in 2004. Unfortunately, Henry couldn't lead Arsenal to a Champions League trophy. But one thing nobody can deny is that he helped transform Arsenal into one of Europe's best clubs. Brazilian superstar striker Neymar Jr. is up next, and he is one of the most talented footballers of his generation. However, he was fed up with being in Lionel Messi's shadow at Barcelona, and he knew that the only way he was going to become the man was by leaving and leading the line elsewhere. At this time, PSG's search for European dominance was what triggered the bid for Neymar in 2017. And in a transfer that shook the footballing world to its knees, the Paris club paid a whopping €222 million for Neymar's services. Unfortunately, the Brazilian failed to do one thing PSG signed him for, which is to win the UEFA Champions League and turn the Paris side into one of the greatest forces in European football. He managed to lead them to the final in 2020, but they lost by a single goal to Bayern Munich. Neymar has since moved away from Paris, and while he didn't shoot them to the top of the European mountain, his transfer remains the greatest money-wise in the history of the French Ligue 1. But unlike Neymar, this next player didn't disappoint his club in European competition. Now, if we're going to talk about great transfers in football history, Zinedine Zidane moving from Juventus to Real Madrid in 2001 has to come up at some point. He's one of those players that can't be replaced, and the 77.5 million euros Madrid paid for his signature was unmatched for nearly 9 years. During his time in Spain, Zidane won the Ballon d'Or, a La Liga title, and the 2002 UEFA Champions League, where he scored an absolute stunner against Bayer Leverkusen in the final. While at Madrid, he also won the Ballon d'Or and several other individual titles. With this in mind, this next Real Madrid signee will be hoping to achieve both individual and collective greatness with the Spanish side, just like those before him. Without a doubt, Jude Bellingham is the best young player in the world, and the 103 million euros Real Madrid paid Borussia Dortmund for his services proves just that. Bellingham has already begun breaking records. He scored in his first 4 matches, which was something only the great Cristiano Ronaldo could do. Since then, he's been scoring in pretty much every match. Bellingham's signing holds great significance for Real Madrid's future, as he will be a key player for the team when the likes of Luka Modric and Toni Kroos retire. Moving on, we can agree that MLS wouldn't be what it is today if it wasn't for Pele's transfer to the New York Cosmos in 1975. At this time, Pele had already won the World Cup as many as 3 times, which is something no other footballer has achieved. Now, for a player of Pele's caliber to move to the MLS meant that the league would enjoy some international attention for the first time in its history. What makes this transfer even greater is the fact that the New York Cosmos, which weren't particularly rich, beat both Juventus and Real Madrid for Pele's signature. 18-year-old, he was a World Cup winner and one of the most potent goal scorers in the world. This was evident in his performance at the 2018 World Cup, where he finished the tournament as the top goal scorer, as well as the best young player. Mbappe continues to act strong for PSG, and as long as he's still with the club, it means there's still a chance he can help them win the Champions League. As for Johan Cruyff, his move from Ajax to Barcelona in 1973 wasn't just important for the club, it was also important for football as a whole. His move to Barcelona completely changed the way the club played football, as he is credited with inventing the tiki-taka style of play, which brought a lot of success to the team. Cruyff is also credited for reshaping the football ideology at Barcelona's La Masia Academy, which has produced some of the world's greatest players, including Lionel Messi. The Dutchman's legacy at Barcelona is rock solid for 2 reasons: his impact as a player and his impact as a coach. Speaking of Messi, his rivalry with Cristiano Ronaldo took a new turn when the Portuguese captain moved from Manchester United to Real Madrid in 2009. This not only meant that the 2 best attacking players in the world were now playing in the same league, it also meant that they were playing for the biggest rivals in Spanish football. Ronaldo is arguably Real Madrid's greatest player of all time. He is their all-time leading scorer, and his exceptional eye for goal helped Madrid to 3 straight Champions League victories. Astonishingly, Ronaldo won 4 Champions League trophies in total with Madrid, which helped solidify their stance as the greatest club in the world. It was quite unfortunate that he left the club on not so nice terms, but there's no Madrid fan in the world that can possibly hate CR7. But African fans are certainly hating on the football team, because when they had a chance of breaking a world record at the 2022 World Cup, the players literally blew their chances, so they each had a target on their back. You definitely want to hear how it ended. Just click this video right here.